Myanmar's military has been systematically torturing detainees in the wake of pro-democracy protests in the country. That's according to an investigation by the AP news agency based on interviews with former prisoners and people who worked in the army. The junta has arrested more than 7,000 people since a coup overthrew the democratically elected government of Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi in February this year. And despite international sanctions, the junta's use of torture to suppress democracy continues.
March 2021. People in Yangon still had faith they could reverse the month-long military takeover. Those hopes were crushed as the junta moved in and swept up hundreds of fleeing protesters, loading them into trucks. Since then, it's happened over and over again, leaving physical and mental scars for the detainees. Nathan Maung was one of them. Now back in the US, the journalist described his experience in the interrogation center.
He's like holding like one of the, bamboo stick or something. I don't know, but he hit me like this. It's like 2 hours. And the guy was standing behind me, started hitting. Like, motherfucker, dog.
These images obtained by AP shows wounds of former detainees. They say it's evidence of torture. They say protesters, including women and children, were held in centers like these. The military dismisses the claims as nonsense. But army defector Hin Liang-pyang says he witnessed the suffering with his own eyes. Since the start of the demonstrations, the police and army arrested, beat, tortured people. They did it to everyone who were arrested. I saw that 2 people died from their physical torture. To improve its image, the junta released more than 1,000 of around 5,000 detainees in October. But over 100 of them were re-arrested. Activists call it mental torture, in addition to the physical punishment endured in jail. Human rights organizations say in Myanmar, this is nothing new.
We saw them using this against the Rohingya ethnic minority groups. We've seen them using this against the other ethnic minority groups for decades. And now they're employing it against their own people.
Now a free man, Maung says he's finding some solace in Buddhist prayer. But the memories continue to haunt him, especially knowing thousands of others remain behind bars.
And joining me now from Bangkok is Phil Robertson. He's Deputy Director of the Asia Division at Human Rights Watch. Phil, are you actually surprised to hear about these reports of prisoners being tortured in Myanmar?
No, I'm not. And that's kind of a sad commentary because we have seen systematic use of torture by military governments in Burma in the past. And to see, again, this happening and to be reported by AP in such a very conclusive fashion really shows that it's a reversion to past practice, that with the military coup, they have brought in all their bad human rights practices and again, the impunity that allows them to go forward with this. I mean, no one is ever prosecuted in the Myanmar military for use of torture. And this is why it continues to grow and to be used systematically.
But how are they getting away with it in the 21st century? I mean, how is the international community, in a sense, allowing this to happen?
Well, it's an excellent question. I think that because we have not been able to get traction on Burma at the UN Security Council because of the resistance of both Russia and China, the whole accountability effort to bring these various perpetrators to justice, not only for what they're doing now to the Burmese people, but also what they've done in the past to the ethnic Rohingya in 2017 and to other ethnic minorities all over Burma, that we, are really stymied in our ability to get international accountability. And certainly at the national level in Burma, the courts are beholden to the military and will do nothing to challenge them.
Now, short of the UN, the EU and the US have, for instance, already imposed sanctions on members of the Myanmar junta, but clearly that doesn't seem to be making an impact. Is it time, therefore, to step up the pressure with newer and more targeted sanctions? I mean, do we need to look at the oil and gas industries in Myanmar, for instance?
Well, we are looking very closely at the oil and gas money that goes to the Burmese junta. You know, it's well over $400 million a year, and that needs to be cut off. We have a lot of proposals for that to stop the transfers of money into accounts controlled by the Burmese military. But so far, we've met a lot of resistance, particularly by the government of France, but also by other states within the European Union. It is unfortunate that we're not seeing the kind of sanctioning that we need to see. And while we are hearing about a possible new round of sanctions that may be coming forward in the European Union, it's again too little, too late. It's been almost 9 months now since we have seen this coup and what has happened here. People are dying every day. People are being arrested en masse. People are being tortured. And the international community can only come up with statements of condemnation.
Where does that...
It's made the Burmese people very cynical, and they're demanding more action.
Does that basically mean that the people of Myanmar have been left to their own devices? They are left to their own fate to try and stand up to this junta to try and restore democracy in their own country?
Well, certainly the Burmese people think so. And that's what they're saying. If you watch what's happening on social media and you listen to what they're telling the few reporters who are still active in the country, is that it's on them. It's up to them to make something happen. And this is why I think we've seen, in a course of desperation, people taking up arms and the growth of these People's Defense Forces, which are attacking the Burmese military and police on a daily basis all over the country. The situation is sliding towards greater violence rather than a negotiated solution. And part of that is because we don't see the kind of international pressure that is required to bring the Burmese military junta to the table.
Phil Robertson, we'll have to leave it there for the time being, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.